to see you again. If you have been with us for a while, you recognize that Hebrews is the book of the Bible that we have studied for now, again, 16 weeks today. They haven't been consecutive because they've been kind of breaks in between, thank goodness. But we want to finish up next Sunday, so please don't miss next Sunday. Come back and see us because we're going to be kind of wrapping things around. Now, with that in mind, I want to remind you of what happened to us a couple of Sundays ago. I'm really still under the influence because it was an overwhelming experience. But a couple of Sundays ago, we were in Germany. Now, you need to understand where my story is coming from. I was born and raised in Mexico. I came to the States when I was 17 years old. Never been in this country, never spoke the language before. Walked into this deal, finished high school, came over here, and then I'm 41, so more than half of my life has been in the States. Here's my conclusion. Mexico, United States. Mexico, United States. I have come to the understanding, painful understanding, that more than likely in my lifetime, I will never be able to belong to a country, either formally belong or currently belong to a country that will ever be a champion in the World Cup. Let's just put it that way. So being in Germany, when the final World Cup took place and they won, it was crazy. It was like, I mean, again, I'm just speaking as a huge sports fan, and I grew up playing soccer, so this is my thing, okay? It was literally for me a once-in-a-lifetime experience. What are the chances for me to walk into a country on the weekend they're going to play the final and win? Come on, think about it. Anyhow, I'm there, I'm sitting there, and I'm looking, and I'm seeing this, and I'm thinking to myself, this is nuts, man. This is crazy. Anyways, went to the celebration. I asked one of the German guys to send me a picture, and this is what I got. This is kind of an aftermath deal. This is on the streets of Detmold, okay? And people celebrating. And obviously, when you live in Germany, when you're a German, and you live in a country that is surrounded by many other countries versus us in America, who's like, from sea to shining sea, it's just like sea to shining sea, isn't nothing but water on both sides, and then Canada and Mexico, that's about it. But when you're in Germany, there's so many countries where you walk into churches like Detmold North, which that's what we're, and you hear the older generation saying that they are Russian Germans. And then you hear another group of people saying, well, we're just Germans. And then you hear other group of people saying, well, I'm actually from Austria, but I married a German, so here am I. And then, so you come to this place where there's just diversity is an understatement. I thought we were diverse. No, we're not. They are. Very diverse, very diverse. Anyways, so I'm there, and when you get through something like the World Cup and winning the World Cup, man, it's a huge patriotic, just this kind of a bump in your chest to say, Germans. So it was cool. It was really cool. It was good. I mean, it was, again, in my view, it's once in a lifetime. I don't know if I got to schedule another mission trip to whatever the World Cup is going to win. Hopefully it's a world power. And just go and join them in Jesus' name. All right. So here's the thing. Obviously, as Americans, we are also very prideful. We're very patriotic. Nothing wrong with that. And when it comes to sports, let's just call it what it is. Americans don't like to lose. Especially in the kind of global stage. So whether the sports, whatever it is. So when it comes to basketball, obviously the best basketball is in the United States and the world. So in the month of August, there's this competition worldwide with multiple countries coming together, and the United States obviously wants to send the best players over there. Well, there has been some controversy lately because one of their players recently pulled away from the competition. And he said, I'm not playing. He gives his reasons, and legit or whatever, and there's controversy with this. Hebrews chapter 11 is the one chapter, and Hebrews as a whole is the one book in the Bible that basically filters or evaluates your initial conversion, trusting, salvation experience through the lenses of how you end the race. I'll say it one more time. Hebrews will say you are saved Not because what you did when you were 13, 14, 27, you were in your deathbed, or whatever, your grandma, VBS, or whatever, those things are important. But Hebrews will say this, and I hope that you got the message through 16 weeks, that Hebrews will say, your salvation is evaluated on how you end the race. How we look at you, and how we remember you at the end of the journey, when you are no more, determines whether you were saved, or you were just lip service, or you were just culturally kind of politically correct, or whatever the case may be. And I'm bringing this up because I am concerned that some of us, when we get to that point of finishing the race in this life, we may get this lack of celebration. Woo! Yes! Great father, Christian leader, whatever, yeah, all these Christian attributes. But I'm afraid that some of us will be remembered because we pull away from the faith. Because it was inconvenient. Because you married somebody that just drew you, pulled you away, or whatever the case may be. You went to a church that you had a situation where you just kind of gave up on your faith. You went to college, and you met a professor, that he gave you some new views of life, and you went somewhere else. So here's the question. All that I'm trying to kind of get for you to think with me is, how is it that you are going to finish the race? Is that you? Or is that you? Your walk with Christ. You're trusting in Jesus Christ. See, here's one of the crazy things that I will just tell you as a pastor, 24 years in the ministry. I've buried a lot of people. I've married a lot of people. I've buried a lot of people also. And one of the things that is very difficult to really do in funeral ceremonies, funeral services, is to speak about Christianity as an event that happened when you were 13, but it has nothing to do with everything you did in your life. So here you are, an 85-year-old lady or man, and there is no recollection of a current event that had to do with the presence and the character of Jesus, and all that is remembered is that when you were 14 years old at a youth camp, you gave your life to Jesus. I'm not against 14-year-olds giving their lives to Jesus, but I'm just telling you, man, that's not the biblical worldview. The biblical worldview is that, once again, how you finish the race is equally important how you launch into the race. So, Hebrews 11 is what is called the Hall of Faith. Not the Hall of Fame, because that's what you do in sports, but the Hall of Faith. So we're going to read multiple scenarios in biblical characters that they are going to be remembered. Please, 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 don't miss this. They're going to be remembered, and they made it to Hebrews 11 not simply because how they begun. They're going to be remembered because how they finish the race. And that's what I want you to think about for a second. Now, can I just make a quick commercial here before I jump into the thing? If I go down, it's commercial time. So, I'm coming down. I want you to listen to this. Can I just, and again, if you want to argue this with me all day long, we can go at it. I'm not that good at arguments because I like to win. But here's what I'm going to say to you guys. Your soul was created for faithfulness. Your soul, I don't care what aspect of life you give me, but you were created for faithfulness, for consistency, for staying put. You were not created for quitting. And again, you call it, look at this from any angle, any aspect of your life, your being, everything that you are. So when I talk to you about this issue of finishing the race well, really what I'm talking about is a human need. If you're just honest with me, I think it's within you. I think it's already innate. You were born with this desire because you were created in the image of God. So I'm not telling you something that comes as you meet Christ. I'm just telling you that as a boy, when I was growing up, I needed the consistency from day one of a male figure in my life, and that's my father. That is abnormal when a little boy gets to meet multiple men, or there is no man. That's abnormal. Are you tracking on this? The same thing happens for a little girl. Exactly. So in other words, all that I'm trying to tell you is that we were created for this. So before I take you into how to do this, let me give you what I call the disclaimer of Hebrews 11. When I read this verse, which is verse 13, There is no way in heaven you can come back to me and tell me, hey, you didn't tell me that, or how come you didn't warn on that? I'm going to give you the warning. Now, I hope that you don't do this, but after verse 13, if you need to step out, and you don't like what I'm about to say, I hope that you don't do it and stay for the remainder of the time. But here is what I want to read to you. These people on the hall of faith, that we're going to talk about in a minute, that they finished the race in a way that reflected how they begun. They were still living by faith. In other words, they were remain faithful whenever they died. Okay? Watch this. They did not receive the things promised. How does that sound for a name it and claim it theology with prophetic gospel? And if you just have enough faith, you'll get it. How does that sound for, if you just kind of plant your seed in the ministry, God will. Listen, these people, this word faith in reality, if you want to translate this, is the word faithful. Watch this, is the word righteous. These people lived a life of righteousness. And even though they remained righteous before God, they did not receive what was promised. They only saw those promises at a distance. Remember the story of Moses going up to the mountain? Moses, there's the promised land. Yes! No, Moses, you get to go back. Joshua will take him in. You die right here. It's like, are you kidding me, man? 40 years wandering with this knuckleheads, and you're not going to let me in? See, Moses gets to die. That's crazy, right? It makes no sense that they didn't get to see the promises. Watch this. So they only saw them and welcomed them from distance. Admitting, this is how they had the endurance. This is how and what made them special. It's because they understood and they embraced. Please listen to this. The Bible is not saying that they believed doctrinally only, meaning that this is what the church they embraced and this is what made them, the church that they belong to. What he's implying is that their lifestyle was that kind of a lifestyle that they saw themselves as foreigners and strangers on this planet. So I'm going to put it to you very simple in this regard. One of the reasons why people today are serving God with bitterness. One of the people, and I might be describing some of you, really wish they were not in church. They really want to go somewhere else and do something else. Some of you want to really try some other faiths or whatever. It's because you keep on trying to fulfill a God-given desire with a pattern that is not a God-given pattern. See, when you embrace life as if this is temporary, you're going to be okay with not getting your way. But if you are thinking and making decisions based as if this is it, there is no wonder you're having sex with all these people. Because there may be no tomorrow, right? I mean, if all that it is what you see, what you taste, what you smell, what you touch, dude, I'm with you, man. I'll probably do exactly what you're doing. I'll give you credit for that. You're wrong, I'll give you credit. But the Bible is describing that these people, they were able to remain faithful, not because they were better, not because they didn't have any problems. I'm going to give you the list in just a minute. And you're going to identify with this crazy, crazy crowd. Because they saw themselves as foreigners, as strangers on earth. And to me, that's what it implies to be a Christian. Right now, we have to begin the conversation saying, this is not home. If this is home to you, dude, I don't care how much church you pour in the system. I don't care how much prayer you put in your system. See, this life is never going to make sense for those who embrace the gospel of Jesus Christ. This life is never going to line up with what Jesus has promised. If you are asking for Jesus to bless a pattern that contradicts his principles, because here's the crazy thing, you were created as a sexual being, but being sexual doesn't imply that he has to bless your sexual craziness. Right? All that implies is that your sexuality, your emotions, your finances, your relationship, they have to line up with God. And there is no way your sexuality, your finances, your relationships will make sense if you see yourself as a person who is home. You are not home. That's the principle. So because of that, the Bible tells you in verse 1, if you're in agreement with me, that faith is basically the confidence. Is the confidence, is to possess, is to embrace the confidence in what we have. Watch this. The word hope is the word certainty, which is going to be next one in there. But it's that sense of, it's not just wishful thinking and really kind of just having this romantic desire that things are going to change. No. The Bible implies this. Is the confidence on something that is for sure. It is the assurance about what we do not see. So in your handouts, the word faith basically implies, please listen, the word faith basically implies that you are going to agree and are going to declare and are going to embrace and are going to believe that every single thing that God had said about himself is true. If you don't know Jesus, it's pretty obvious you can care less what God says about himself. That makes sense? I'm going to put it to you very simple. An evidence that you are a follower of Jesus is that you care what he says, about himself. One of the mistakes that we have in our culture today is that most people are more concerned about their opinion and views of God instead of learning what he thinks about himself. Your view of God is important. And I bet you want to talk about religion and differences and all that, hey, we can go after that. Hey, I love to give you a story. But at the end of the day, your view and my view are irrelevant. Can I just be honest with you why? Look at me. Because neither one of you or me have ever died and come back from the dead. If you can pull out your own resurrection, I'll follow you. Whatever you lead, I'm with you. But nobody has done that except one person. His name is... Okay, so always listen to this. Faith is nothing else but you saying yes to what he says about himself. Once again, your task is not to just grow in faith in Christ. Your task is not to say, well, I really believe in God. See, your task is to know more and more of the character of God. Because when you know the God of the Bible, you understand who you are. See, we live in a generation that people say, all that you need is to have faith in God. To me, that's pretty narcissistic. Because what you're saying is, all that I need is to increase on what I think God is. Now, it is important for you to understand and to have an opinion of God. But at the end of the day, God's faithfulness, God's character will never change, even if your opinion of God changes. And that's good news. That's definitely good news. So again, faith is nothing else but embracing what he said about himself. Number 2, here we go. That faith is confidence in what we hope for and also to have an assurance. So here's what I'm going to say to you. When you are a good person, having a good Baptist, evangelical, Catholic, whatever, I don't care, whoever you are, and you have a good perception of God and you reverend God and you kind of honor God and you're a good person. I mean, come on. One of the things that you will never be able to do on your own is to remain faithful. But I want you to listen to this. The evidence of you embracing the character of God is not that God just suddenly blesses you, even though he has blessed you. The reason why God reveals himself to you is that you will change the essence of who you are and remember that quitting is not an option. See, these people that we're going to read about, this hall of faith, again, their circumstances, I'm just going to show you right now. They're going to go crazy. What does that make them faithful? That they embrace who God said he was. That's what changes the whole scenario. That's the changes the whole scenario. So here's what I want you to understand this morning. Again, quitting is not an option. Okay, can you embrace that principle this morning? Just look at me. Quitting is not an option. If you're a quitter, if you're someone who is about to give up or have given up, whether it's faith, I don't care, whatever that is, see, you have to embrace the the character of God. God doesn't need you to be victorious. The victory is already yours. God is asking